Hello, my name is Hannah Lucy, and today I'm going to be observing myself as a critical reader in English 201. My understanding of reader response came when I was reading Everyday Use by Alice Walker. This story was in one of our later modules, but I actually fell in love with doing reader response in our first modules that we learned how to do this. I liked critical analysis documents at first, but as I was getting to doing them, I really liked reader response more because I was able to ask myself questions while reading the story, and I was able to ask myself, why is a second reading changing my understanding? And then I was never somebody to read something and then reread it because I just didn't think I had the time to. But from doing this document, it really made myself understand that second reading is really crucial to my understanding, and I was able to learn the more cultural background to it, and I was able to ask myself, what is the author's message in this story? And doing this document really helped me understand reading, and I've always had trouble with understanding books, and reading has never been my strong suit, but I'm really gonna use this resource in college. I believe this really helped me understand during my summer reading. In this story, Everyday Use, reading responses helped me because at first I really thought that Maggie was jealous of her sister, and towards the end of the story I realized that she's actually not jealous of her at all, that she is actually the only one that recognizes how important her culture is, and her sister Dee has no idea of how much Maggie is surrounded by her culture, because Dee just wants the things, and where Maggie has the actual memories. Dee just wants the blanket and the accessories that she thinks will look good in her house, where Maggie has the memories in her heart and that she can cherish those memories for forever. I talked a little bit about a second reading in my last slide, but I really needed to do 2 slides about this because this second reading really helped me. When I was in 4th grade, I always had to be pulled out of class because I was never somebody that was a good reader. My mom always struggled with helping me learn how to read, and it was just never my strong suit from the beginning. So teachers always said, follow with your finger when you're reading, and that might help you, and just try really to focus on the reading, but nothing ever worked. And I'd read a story, and sometimes it would really be hard for me to dive into the story because I would be reading it, but I wouldn't be comprehending it. So in high school, I was getting a little bit better with my reading. My reading scores went up, and I thought that I was doing much better than in middle school. I thought maybe these teachers were really helping me, and I was doing okay. And then senior year, we were reading different books, more difficult books, and I was still finding myself not doing it as well as I was in my first couple of years. I thought maybe it's just because I'm slacking, because I'm a senior, and all these things. But once I had this, it helped me because actually one of my teachers my senior year, her name was Miss White. She was so nice. One of my favorite English teachers that I've ever had. And she said, Hannah, I really think that you need to do a second reading after your first one. She said, your first one, she said, of course, try to read it. Just try to focus, like all the other teachers said. But then she said, it helps me to skim through and find the words that I don't really recognize and write them down and ask myself questions. And she said I'm a big highlighter. I love to highlight everything that I do. So that might be able to help you too. So I started to highlight, and I started to ask myself questions, and I started to take sticky notes, and by the end of the year, my books were full of sticky notes, and I was able to read because I would do a first reading and ask myself questions, and then I would go back, read it again, and I would be able to answer my questions myself, and that really helped me, and I'm really glad that this was able to help me during my summer class too. I was able to make a connection to this critical analysis document because of the visual imagery. So when we were looking for imagery and all of the reading strategies in the different stories, it made me think of last year with my English teacher, Miss White. She made us highlight in our books every imagery, and we always, after we highlighted it, we had to mark the page with a different color sticky note, and we had to do imagery, we had to do personification, all different reading strategies, and that really helped me as a reader, and it helped our whole class because we all knew the blue sticky note was for this, the yellow sticky note was for this, and it helped us work together, and it helped us recognize what was so important in that story, and it helped us visualize in our minds, and I made the connection to that because that's what I remember from doing my last year in high school. And she said that when you go to college, this is going to be so important, and she was right, because my first college class, that's exactly what we had to do. Another connection that I made was that my senior year in high school, I took a debate and public speaking class, and that really helped me with Flipgrid over our summer course, because a lot of people, maybe some people, haven't used Flipgrid before, but in March, when our class had to go online, our teacher was like, what am I going to do? Because you never thought that you would have to take a debate and public speaking course online. And I was getting so good at talking in person, and I was really, really getting better with my public speaking, and that really helped me when we went online with our Flipgrids, because I just remembered the skills that I learned in person, and I put those to the Flipgrid. So that also helped me in this summer course. One challenge that I faced during English 201 this summer was adjusting to the Blackboard site. Blackboard is not something that I have used before. From high school, we used Google Classroom and Google Slides and Google Documents, and I was not used to the Blackboard site or using Outlook email. But I am so glad that I took this class, because it really made me jump in and have to learn how to use the site to understand the class. And now when I have my first class in the fall, I'm gonna be able to not have to worry about learning a new application and everything like all the other students will have to. So I will kind of have a step ahead because I did the summer class, and I'm just very thankful that I was selected to take this class and that I was able to learn the site before everybody else, and that I'm not going to have to worry about not knowing what to do on the first day of school. And I know where I have to log in, and I will have to be stress-free, which is good for me. My most memorable experience is the journal entries. We did these in our first couple of modules, but we haven't done them in the last couple of modules. But this is one of the things that really helped me because I was able to write what I thought, and then I was able to look at what other people wrote and compare and contrast what I wrote and what they wrote, and I was able to see how some people took the stories and saw a different point of view of them, and I was able to look at my point of view and really see the difference between our points of views, and I really enjoyed that, and I could comment on somebody else's and say, you did a really good job on this, or I see your point in this, and I know I didn't see that at first, but once I read what you wrote, it really opened my eyes, and I was able to see that point. And I'm just very glad that I was able to use the journal because that really helped me, and I hope it continues to help me in the fall. The one aha moment that I had during this semester was that I actually realized that I really enjoy poetry. And at first when we had to read poetry, I chose the I Have a Rendezvous with Death by Alan Seeger, and that's what you can see on my screen. That's the screenshot that I took of what I took from the poem. But then when we had to write our own poem, I was about a piece of art that we had looked at from a museum. I was so scared because I've never written a poem before, and I thought that it was totally out of my comfort zone and that I would never be able to do it. But I realized that I actually liked it and that it didn't take me as long as I thought it would to write a poem, and the pieces were kind of flowing together once you start. And I'm usually somebody that if we have to choose to write a paper or write a poem, I always just choose the paper because I know I wouldn't be able to write the poem, but now I'm glad that I was able to write it and that I was able to enjoy writing the poem.
Thank you so much for a great summer course. I'm so glad that you were my first professor, and I hope to see you in the fall.